Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to be here with my amazing friend, Shawn Dunn. You look fabulous, darling. Shawn is a wife for almost 25 years, a mama, a business owner with her husband, fitness instructor for over 15 years. Go, girlfriend. Um, you also, at one point, were over 200 pounds at your heaviest, but then also competed at your first fitness competition at 48 years old. I love that story and having seen the transition you went from at one stage, but also overcoming extreme social anxiety. So I am so stoked to have you here today. I appreciate you spending some time with us, and I just want to dive in. Do you have anything you want to
Oh,
mention about any of that, or
thank,
anything that I missed or want to share before we?
um, well, first, I just want to say thank you so much for having me here. This is, I'm touched that you even wanted me to come and share my story. I also, I guess it's pretty rough. I've had two major back surgeries in the midst of, all of my fitness journey and weight loss journey. One was in 2015, was my first spinal fusion. And then my second spinal fusion was just 2 years ago, April, actually this month, 2 years ago. So in 2023. Yeah. So two
Oh,
big
wow.
major surgeries. And I competed that time in the middle in all my training before I knew I had to have my second surgery. It was like I did that in like a crazy amount of pain until I realized I had to
Oh.
have another surgery. So it was a little crazy.
Finding out what's going on. I love that you share the whole journey because it's not just been like from one thing to the other. You had a lot of journey throughout the entire thing. And one of the reasons that I wanted to have you here, besides that, I think you're amazing, but also just inspiring. This place is really about sharing inspiring stories about women who are really becoming bulletproof and walking through that because we really, I think, sometimes feel like we're alone in the challenges. And it may not be the same as someone else's, but hearing inspiring stories of how other people have walked through the journey, I think empowers the rest of us to pull up our big girl britches when we need to and remember that when other people can do it, we can do it. So I just love sharing that, and I'm glad that you brought those up because there's a whole other going through that as well. Talk to me about where it all started. Talk to me about what things were like for you growing up, because I think a lot of that shapes us, and sometimes we don't even recognize it, whether it's good, bad, in between, but shapes and influences who we become and how we show up in the world later and what that means for us.
Oh, 100%. I've always said like we all have our stories, right? We've all
Yeah,
been through things, not one of us is any more special because of our circumstances than the other. I'm 50. I was born in Thailand. My mother is Thai and my dad is American. He was in the military. And we moved to the States when I was about 18 months old. So we moved from Thailand to Mississippi because that's where my dad was from. So, thankfully I was so little, but then when we moved, my dad went to school in Hattiesburg at University of Southern Mississippi. And after he graduated, we moved to this little tiny small place in Mississippi called Petal, Mississippi. And like, we didn't even get a McDonald's until I was like in the eighth grade. You know what I mean? And so
yeah,
here I am, this little half Asian girl, in this little tiny town where I'm literally the only girl who looks like me, until,
sure. Yeah.
yeah, until junior high, until my friend Stacy, and she's Mexican. And we were like the only two little brown girls or, in the whole little town. So, you know, I didn't know anything different back then. Like I was never treated different or anything like that, which I feel very lucky for. But
Yeah.
I actually got my citizenship when I was in the third grade. So when I came over, I wasn't even a citizen. My mom still
Interesting.
holds dual citizenships, but for here and Thailand, actually. Um, I could go into a whole nother town, but so on my way to get my citizenship in third grade, I also found out that my father is not my biological father, and that my mom met my dad when I was a baby, and my biological father had already went back to the States when my mom was still pregnant. But that could be a whole
Sure.
different podcast, actually.
We have
Um,
another episode.
oh my gosh, I've actually just recently in the last few months found out quite a few things because I've never met.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a whole
and I just
different, yeah.
oh my gosh, it's been a whole different journey. I never met him, but just real quick, I just found out he passed away 2 years ago, actually. He's quite a bit older than my mom. My mom was 19 and he was 33, I think, when they got together. So he was quite a bit older than her. But ironically enough, which actually drives me absolutely insane now, he lived here in Florida, like
Oh,
just a couple of hours
wow.
from me. Yeah.
Wow. And
And,
never met him then. Didn't know
well, in the Thai
or
translation on my birth certificate, they had the last name a little bit wrong. So
oh,
when I did try to find him when I was younger, it just wasn't the right name. So just through some more digging and
sure.
everything, we figured
Mm.
it all out and came across some pictures and sent them over to my mom. And my mom was like, "Yep, that's him." And then we found out that he was living right, because I'm in
Oh,
Jacksonville and he's in Clearwater in Titusville. So just out at Cape Canaveral, he worked out there for forever. So he was
wow.
a couple hours for me this whole time. And yeah, he passed away 2 years ago. So I have
Oh,
family over there, but I don't know if they know anything about me or anything
right.
like
Oh,
that.
my heart is just chills
Oh, yeah. So
thinking of
that's
that.
like I said, that's been a whole different, and that's something I've kind of dealt with here and there. My mom and
Yeah.
I have a great relationship now, but growing up, it was, not always the case, which, talking a little bit about the weight loss, or the weight gain, like, yeah, at my heaviest, and I'm only 5'3". I'm not very tall. So 200 pounds on somebody my size is 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 quite a bit. And, growing up, like I said, my mom and I, we have a great relationship now, but when we were young, and she's, the having an Asian mother, if anybody has a full-blooded Asian mom, that's a little bit different, situation growing up,
Sure.
and her thing, and no fault of her own, but I grew up a lot with, if you just lost 5 pounds,
Mm,
if you just lost, you would, do this or that. And it's like, so that was a big thing that I had to get over a long time. It created some pretty nasty little eating disorders when I was younger, and
yeah.
until I found fitness, actually, I in a healthy way, let me say, because when in high school,
Right.
when I was still kind of, when your hormones are all over the place and your emotions are all over the place, I would work out to the extreme and then not eat. And I also went through the whole binge and purge thing for a little while. And you know, um, it took a while to get healthy and that
Yeah.
healthy vision of yourself. And to be honest, I still struggle with it now. We were talking about before this, I'm like looking in there, like, I'm texting my husband, I'm like, I look so old, I don't know. And
You look
and so
fabulous, but it's
it's so
funny.
crazy because it almost never goes away, right? We've so programmed to pick ourselves apart. And
Hmm.
we would never talk to anybody else the way we talk to ourselves sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, so, and my childhood was, I lost my sister when I was 20. We lost my little sister in a car accident. It's so crazy. I'm sorry, you're a little checked up.
No, don't be sorry.
you forget everything that you've gone through. I'm so sorry.
Don't be sorry. Don't you dare be sorry for that. I understand saying that, but for sure, we
Uh,
don't realize what we've gone through and what we've worked through and what we've put behind us till someone asks us to share it all and reminds us, holy moly,
Yeah.
how strong when
Um,
what we've walked through and what's built us. Yeah.
it's a hard one because there was a 5-year difference between Stephanie and I. And we were not great. I was not a great big sister. We fought a lot. And
Mm.
my parents divorced when I was 14, and I went and lived with my mom, and she went and lived with my dad. And the few times that we did live together,
Mhm.
um, over summers and stuff, man, we were just like cats and dogs. That 5-year span in between
Sure.
teenagers, that's
Hmm.
what 15-year-old wants to hang out with her 10-year-old little sister.
Right.
And
Right. Of course.
that's a big deal. And when I moved out and after graduation, and I moved to Orlando and was living there, and that was right when Stephanie and I got to start talking again, and we're starting to develop a relationship. She was having some issues in school when she was a little bit younger, and well, I say younger, she was only 15, and
Right.
I had talked to my dad and was like, Stephanie's having issues in school. How about you let her come stay with me here for a little bit? And that right after that, she passed away March 4th. Um, gosh, it's been a really long time. Um,
Yeah.
she was only 50. Yeah, she was 15, and it was
Mm.
her and her boyfriend, and they were in a car accident. She she was actually grounded. The story is she was grounded, and my dad had to go to out of town for the day for business. And Stephanie, just being who she was, had a spare key made because he took her car keys. And in Mississippi, you only have to be 15 to have your driver's license. Like, I know most places it's
Hmm.
16, but there you only have. And she had left and went to go pick up her boyfriend, who lived about an hour away from her. And on the way back, something happened. They were on a 2-lane highway, and something happened for them to lose control of the car. He was actually driving, not her, and they were hit by another man, and it killed both of them, actually. They didn't
Oh,
have their seatbelts on, but I don't know if that would have made a difference, to
right.
be honest. But yeah, it killed both of them. And
Devastating.
it was pretty devastating. You got a lot of
Yeah.
questions after that.
I can't imagine.
It
Yeah.
made me question God, you know, tremendously. We weren't really brought up in the church. I've always believed in God, but especially after
Hmm.
that, I was kind of like, this
A
man
big
who's
why.
supposed to be so
Reasoning.
awesome and take care of you, and you just take, you know, this
Hmm.
this kid for no reason. So
Yeah.
that was a hard thing for me for a long time, especially because we were just starting to get, our relationship on track.
Yeah.
It's just like,
The
but
timing even.
yeah, but I guess, at the same time, I can also look at least, we weren't like hating each other at the time, which would
For
have
sure.
been probably even more
I
so.
would imagine a lot
I think so.
harder for you in a way too.
But I will tell you, and it's not something
Yeah.
that I really share, but I want to be as honest and as transparent as possible, because if it
Yeah.
helps anybody, that is 100% my goal. After she passed, I had a dream about her, and this is really bizarre, and I don't know how you feel about these type of things, but she came to me in a dream, right after that, and she told me, she said, "Shawn," she said, "one of us had to go, and it's okay, 'cause it's okay that it was me." And and that was it.
Oh, did that give you any kind of sliver of peace? Not with the whole thing, but
Sure.
for your heart from that after that dream? Do you know what I
Now,
mean?
thinking about it now and the way that, that I believe in God and the way
Hmm.
that He works, sometimes I think that when you are kind of done here, He takes these young ones because they don't have to come back and do all of
Yeah,
this. And so it was, I think I kind of shut it out for a long time, and it wasn't here until like the last few years that I've been doing all of this healing work.
right.
It was kind of a twofold for me, one part a little bit of peace, but another part of what have I accomplished
Mm.
and
Ooh,
sacrificed this for me. I've never said that out loud.
that's a, oh, okay. I gotta take a second too to breathe in so I don't, um, first of all, thank you for sharing all of this so far. Um, and the fact, and for you to say, I've never shared this out loud. It's the community that you and I have met in and got to know each other. We do a lot of work,
Yeah.
stuff for this. And so we both know the stuff that lives up there that sometimes we don't even realize so much until it comes out, but the power in it coming out. And what have I accomplished? How devastating I think that thought could be inside our head. And I um, feel like there's probably a lot of women not even in the same situation that will, I think that we probably have that across us. What if I, which by now, but in that situation, wow, see that that that's going to put a toll on and finding peace, but
Yeah.
understanding that it can sneak in there with, especially with that dream. Ooh,
Yeah. Oh,
wow.
goodness.
Um, this may sound a little weird. This wasn't even really where I was from. It was
I
funny because
know.
one of my questions I want, was talking about one of the biggest challenges, and I think you already did without us even, one of them. And tell me something. Tell me a couple things about Stephanie that were really cool.
She was an amazing softball player.
Mm.
Like, we both played softball, but that girl was she could hit that ball like you would not believe. And to the point where other coaches would come and watch her play to see what she was doing.
Just to,
And that girl
yeah.
intentionally walked so many times. I mean, they just wouldn't let her hit. In one tournament, she hit 3 grand slams
Dang.
to the center field fence in one day of tournaments. They actually buried her with 3 of her signed softball. Yeah. She was she was she was an incredible softball player. And um like it's actually so horrible. We fought so much. I mean, we really didn't. I mean, I couldn't, we didn't even know each other that well, you know?
And I'm certainly not trying to make it harder.
Oh,
by
no.
any means, by anything. What do you think? Because I think sometimes, especially in the middle of it with the two of you, I have two teen girls right now, and they are almost 2.5 years apart, between, like 2 years, 3 months. And um, they they do adore each. I mean, they long, but man, there's also moments,
Sure.
and they're different, and they're in a small school, and trying to instill things in them too, but also knowing that sometimes one feels like the other one hates her, or you know what I mean, back and forth. And I know that and being able to be from the outside, know that that's not true, that they each have their own things they're going through, and when someone has a bad day and such, I would imagine that regardless, she probably looked up to you as an older sister. And what do you think she thought was really cool about you? Especially because if you guys were building a relationship when she was having trouble there, that she was talking to you, you know.
You know, I that's a good question, Amy.
Mm.
I don't know. I really don't know, to be honest.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know.
You think on that. It doesn't have to be for here, but I
Oh,
bet there was something. But thank you for sharing
yeah,
about
I'm so
about
sorry.
her.
I didn't even
And
mean to go
there's
down that little rabbit hole there. That was a oh, goodness.
I think, yeah, but what a great clearing. I'm sure it will feel like heavy and probably exhausting a little bit, but also I think for me, sometimes those things can be lightning later, and not knowing who might catch this.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it's going to be a thing of both of us being emotional. Here's it's not even my story, but being able to share and being vulnerable enough to share that you guys didn't have a great relationship, because I can guarantee someone is going to hear this that's in the same boat,
Yeah.
and being
Listen,
able
and if
to,
you are
yeah,
in the same boat and your sibling is still here, fix that shit.
fix that shit. That's going to be a new hashtag. Um, I won't go deep into this, but that's exactly, can't really talk about it right now because it's not my story. But my niece just lost her brother to suicide. Um, recently, just over a month ago, and she and I had had lunch, and that's one of the things that, she is highly advocating for siblings and such for that. So, and glad that she was so close, because they were. So,
Just never know,
woo,
man.
yeah, fix that shit. Fix that shit is going to be a new hashtag I'm going to use with, yeah, and that's maybe what someone needs to hear,
It's
for
just
sure. What's that?
it's just not worth it. It's
Yeah.
not worth
Oh,
it. Life is too
yeah.
short, you know?
Thank you for that. Yeah. And sadly, I think sometimes those are the reminders when that happens around us, that we need. I love that you shared the dream. And it doesn't really matter what anyone else believes. But wow, having had that, oh, that made my heart feel good for you. Um, having had that, what if what else, if anything else, did you learn about yourself, do you think, coming through that? I mean, and you were young.
Oh, yeah, I was so
I
young.
mean, what a framing thing, I think, for part of your life.
Um, you can't tell me anything. Like, I've been through so much, you know? I, I've had a lot of loss of close
Yeah.
people in my life, friends, and probably way more than most people should go through. I actually just did a memorial tattoo Um, and it's a weeping willow tree, and in the branches and the leaves are the names
Oh,
of everybody that I've lost, I care about. And I'm sending the list to my tattoo artist, and who's also a very dear friend of mine, and she is like, "Shawn," she's like, "I did not expect this list to be this long." And I was like, yeah, I didn't expect it to be that
yeah,
long either." Um, it's, I have, but I believe very strongly in God. So that is that's a big thing that helps.
yeah.
Um, I
Me
know
too,
that
sister.
we go to a better place. I believe that 1,000,000%. I believe that everything, however horrible it is, good or bad or whatever, it happens for a reason, whatever lessons that we have to learn from it,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Whatever, if
yeah,
brings somebody else into your life, whatever lesson it teaches you. And I know we can be victims or we can be warriors, that's it.
mm,
We all have our stories. I say that's, like I said, I say it so much. We all have our stories. We've all been through some sort of traumatic experience. And if you haven't, God bless you, because,
yeah.
you know, how does that even happen? But it's, I feel like we go through them for a reason, so we can share our experiences because it might help somebody else.
I agree.
You
I
know,
agree.
if we are not providing a service to help other people, then what are we even doing? That's, you
Yeah.
know, I believe that's what we're here for. You know what I mean? There's people don't know how to handle some of the things that go on in their lives. And it's like people think that they're alone, and
Yes.
it's just me, and who else is, nobody else has this happen, but we all have something, and it's not, maybe not the exact same thing, but something that runs kind of parallel, and you can still learn from that experience, and I think that it's very important that people have something to believe in. I think that it's important that you believe in God. I believe in God, you
Mm,
whatever it is that you may believe in. Um, I think that it's important to have that gives you hope and faith. And I actually owe all of that to my husband, because
mm,
when we got together, I was 26 and he was 24, and my sister had only been passed a little
mm,
while. I was coming out of a bad marriage, and um he, I believed in God. I didn't really trust him a whole lot, or really understand,
yeah.
you know, what he really meant or stood for, because I was so angry. Um, and he really, for lack of, not to sound cheesy or whatever, but Rich just showed me the light. I mean, he's such a
Mm,
he's such a devout believer, and and we're not like super religious or anything like that. I actually am kind of an anti-religion. I think that gets pushed on a little bit too
mhm.
hard, but I do have a ton of faith, and God has worked miracles in my life. I mean, 1,000,000%.
Yeah.
The whole reason why I'm here is because I've been asking. I'm not a social media fan. Like, I have a hard time putting my stuff up there. If I have something that
Yeah.
I share, and I think it will help, I will show it. But I've been asking because I know that our stories can help other people, and not
Mhm.
even about me. Because this is, being out here like this is hard for me, but I've been feeling that push from God to share my stories, because I want to build a platform for other women or men, I don't care, to share your story, because if it, so it can
Yeah.
help somebody else, you know what I mean? And I've been asking for that and asking for that, and then out of nowhere, you're like, hey, you wanna, yeah, and I'm like, okay, I hear
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I gotcha. I'm going. As a you're, he's got his foot on my back and he's pushing me through the door and he is forcing it because I am fighting it. And but he keeps pointing me in the direction that, if you want to make a change, you have to
Yeah.
do something. Because never in a
Woo.
million years would I have ever clicked on an ad, like a Facebook ad where we, with Carrie and how you and I got
Yeah.
to be friends. Like I
Yeah.
never in a million years would have done
Isn't
anything
it?
like that, you know?
I I love divine intervention and I love how you're like, I hear you. I have literally done the same thing. Okay, I hear you. Or I'll
Got
even
him.
every once in a while I'll be saying something to my girls and it's so funny when it comes out of my mouth. I'm like, okay, I heard that.
Yeah.
You know, like you're talking to yourself at the same. I'm like, okay, I get it. Um, so I love because I agree, I 100% agree, and that's part of why I came back with this because I believe the same about stories, and I think we don't tell them enough in the sense of the same thing with alone, and whether it's the same story or not, we learn from that. We see ourselves where we need to see ourselves in that. And so I so appreciate that. And I'm going to ask you even to share one more
Sure.
thing, that most recent challenge that you talked about, which that I, if you're open to sharing that, because
Yeah.
I think you felt that you were, and then yeah, because I think there might be someone that needs to hear that too.
Talking about my
Yeah.
hormones. I
Yeah.
would, yeah.
That moment when you knew
Oh,
something had
yes.
had to change, and in case someone is feeling, yeah.
100%. 100%. So several, a few years ago when I finally realized, okay, there's like legitly something going on. And, I reached out and that's when I joined Unstoppable and, started doing all the work, right? And doing all the work and all the work. And I would have moments, it was like usually, oh yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No,
No.
just I'll come back, and I finally just got a video editor so I can I'll clip
Yeah.
that file. Although it's funny, but
Listen, it's a lot of work putting these little things together and editing. That's editing is what takes
I
forever.
I won't edit a lot.
I
I'm
know.
I am as raw as it comes.
Me too. I just don't see any reason. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's kind of the appeal of it all is
right.
you know, just the raw footage.
Yeah. Well, please do share. And now that I broke the whole moment.
No, that's okay. We probably needed a little bit of a
Yeah.
breather for a second. It's heavy, my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I never, like I said, I ask him and I ask God you to point me in the direction and you tell me what to do. And so I believe when
Yeah.
things come across, it's for a reason. If you have that feeling, you should act on it. I think we ignore those too much. And so then I clicked on the Carrie, the Unstoppable, started that little journey, which is obviously how we met. Um, and was doing all the work and things were still, I was still having issues. I don't even want to call it depression, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
like I tried antidepressants. I tried them. They just made me worse. So I know that
Mhm.
it wasn't something in my head. It wasn't a
Yeah.
chemical imbalance like that. You know what I mean? And I don't listen, I do not, I please, I don't want to enrage anybody where depression's not real. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that at all. Fitness has worked for me for a long time. That's the main reason why I not the only reason why, but it was a big um it was a big push to why I exercise, because it helps. It for many, many years, that was the way that I combated any kind of emotional
Mhm.
distress I was having, like any of my moods. Um, but it was hard for a long time, man. It put a big strain on my marriage. Thank God my husband is as amazing
Mhm.
as he is, because, I wouldn't have put up with the things that I do. I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Mm.
It would have made me absolutely miserable. And I'm sure I probably did make him miserable at probably a lot. But finally, one day I just not too long ago, probably about a year and a half ago, I was, you know, I was sitting in my Jeep at the gym, and I was having a very, very, very bad morning, and going through my head of, I've been doing all the work. I don't understand why I still feel like this. I was, and sitting in my Jeep, I've always carried a weapon, and it's always been in my center console, always. And sitting in there at the parking lot in the Jeep, having a complete meltdown, um, feeling completely hopeless and helpless, and not understanding why I felt that way, and
Mhm.
reached into my glove box and was ready, or my center console rather, and it was 1,000,000% by the grace of God that my gun was not in there. I don't know when Richard took it out. I don't know when he did. He probably took it out
Mhm.
a while before, because he knew that I was
Mhm.
struggling. Um, my poor husband, there was a real point in time where he wasn't sure if he was going to find me alive when he came home. That is terrifying.
It is.
Um, for me and for him. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
what a horrible
absolutely.
way for somebody to have to live constantly.
Mm.
And it was like that for a while. Um, it is very much by the grace of God that I am still sitting here. But on the lighter note, with all of that, and knowing, being self-aware and knowing that I have been trying everything, I'm like, there's got to be something else. Like, there's got to
Yeah.
be something else. Um, you know, Men have all these things that they can do for some reason. I was like, you know what? Let me check out hormone stuff. Men have
Mhm.
hormone
Yeah.
replacement stuff all the time. They can go see a doctor and get testosterone shots and do all the things, right? But for whatever reason, the information for women is very outdated, and it is very misleading. So I talked to my husband. I was like, you do hormone stuff. There's got to be something for us. And he's like, well, I don't know, I don't want you to take testosterone. You're going to grow a beard. You're gonna start talking like like you get all the things,
Yeah.
right? Like you're going to, start talking like a man. You like
Mhm.
all the red flags. And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, well, all right, well, you do the research. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do the research and I'm going to show you. So I did. I did a ton of research for myself. Did a lot of digging. There's a lot of misinformation out there that, estrogen causes cancer, and, women shouldn't take testosterone, when in reality, first of all, estrogen doesn't cause cancer. If it did, every 15-year-old girl in the world, as soon as you start puberty, would have cancer. It's ridiculous. Um, Secondly, women produce more testosterone than men do in a lifetime. Obviously, not the amounts at the same time as they do, but we produce more testosterone. So the more research I did, I was like, well, maybe that's why I'm
Yeah.
maybe that's what's going on. Maybe my hormones are out of whack because it
Yeah.
60%, it's an outrageous number. It has gone up to almost 60% of women in menopause commit suicide.
Oh,
That is terrifying
that is terrifying.
for something that can be helped. So I'm like, all right, let me go check this. So I go and I get my blood work done. I did research around here. I found a couple of doctors, read some stuff and wanted and opted for what's called bioidentical hormone pellets. And they look like two little Tic Tacs. They're like little white Tic Tacs, and they go in the fatty part of my butt cheek. And they're plant-based hormones. I actually have an estrogen and a testosterone pellet that I do. Here, let me back up. So I go and I did my blood work. Turns out that my estrogen was in the single digits. I forget what it was, like 4 or 6 or something very ridiculous. My testosterone was an 8. And my FSH hormone, which is your follicle stimulating hormone, should be in the low 20s. Mine was in the 140s. Now, what that means is your follicle stimulating hormone is the hormone in your brain that regulates your body, helps your organs produce, helps your body work, for lack of a better way of putting it. Make sure your organs work, make sure everything works. So when it's having to operate at that high of a level, it should only be in the low 20s. Mine's in the 140s. So it is really struggling just to keep my body going.
Yeah.
So that causes memory loss, anxiety, depression, fatigue, like all of the things, right? All
Yeah.
it, when I tell you that I was the extreme, and some women are not as extreme as I am. I mean, put aside the hot flashes and everything like that, because that was insane. Um, to feel like your body is on fire from the inside,
Mhm.
it was, I mean, I'd be standing in my kitchen and out of nowhere, I'm just like ripping my clothes off. And my husband's like, what's, and I'm like, I am on fire. Like, I feel like I have fire coming out of my head. And he put his hand on my head and he's like, Shawn, your head is burning up. I'm like, I know, because I am on fire on the inside. It,
Oh.
it is a feeling I cannot even
Mhm.
explain, because you can't do anything. You can't cool off. You can't anything. It's just there. You got to ride it out. And it was miserable. And so Dr. Seekheim, my doctor here, he's been doing the hormone treatment or for well over 15 years. He's super knowledgeable. We do my blood work. I still have all my female parts. So I also take a progesterone pill. Um, so I take a progesterone pill, like I said, and then I have the 2 pellets. The pellets last anywhere from 3 to 5 months, depending. So I got my pellets. The hot flashes were gone within like 2 days. And
Mm.
in less than a week, I felt like a whole new person.
Mm.
It was amazing. My My husband's best friend told him, he said, I have not seen Shawn smile this much in years, if
Mm.
ever. You couldn't get me. I never wanted to leave the house.
Yeah.
I already had social anxiety before, but like that put it on a completely different level. You don't want to do anything. You know,
Mhm.
I would have been very happy if I never left my room again. Not a
Yeah.
way to live, especially when
No.
my husband is super social. He likes to go, we have a good time together. And after I, it saved my life. And that
Yeah.
is the only way that I can tell you. I mean, it literally saved my life. I'm a completely different person. on it. Nothing, little things that used to completely throw me off. I mean, like tiny things that in a normal day to day would just not even bother anybody, would throw me into a spiral. And then I would be
Yeah.
in a dark pit for 2 days. You know what I mean? Either
Yeah.
crying uncontrollably or in rage. Those were the two things. It was never one, I mean, and it was never just a little bit. It was like the absolute extreme. Um, and like I said, man, super taxing on my marriage. We got to the point
Oh, oof.
that,
Yeah,
my
for
husband
sure.
was like, I don't know how much longer I can do this.
Right.
You
And
know,
you're feeling the same way. I'm in the, yeah.
I'm like, well, I don't blame
Um,
you, because I'm not, I'm aware, I'm like, I wouldn't want to be
yeah,
either. This is miserable. I get it.
but
So I
how to
was
change it.
prepared
Yeah.
for us to just be done, before that. But now, I mean, it legit, I, I'm, I can't express enough
Yeah.
what a difference it has made for me.
I love that you're sharing this for so many reasons. And I know you're not necessarily like advocating or telling anyone to go get hormone treatment necessarily, but I love that the awareness of it and the difference of where you're at when, because you were doing the things that we know that we need to do and
Yeah.
you were doing your health and 60%, that statistic I did not know. It's crazy. Um, and that feeling like you're crazy because you're doing the exercise, you're doing the mindset work, and we do the mindset work,
Yes.
but it doesn't, you know, it's everything. And when you get to a point of feeling like you just can't take it anymore, like no one wants to make a decision like that. You just feel like I can't one more day. And the message to advocate for yourself because sometimes in the healthcare industry, like you said, you tried all the things that we're trying. So if anyone is feeling, you know, not that they would necessarily feel the symptoms to the extent that you did, but how often are we living? I'm living in a way because we think this is just how it is. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I need to go get, I have avoided having any of that, just taking care of
Telling you.
stuff day by day. And I wouldn't necessarily feel like I burn from the inside out, but I am often walking along and all of a sudden have to peel off like all of
Oh,
as many, all my clothes. My hair has to get off my neck, or I'm like, hold on a second, I just can't do anything else until I get some stuff off. And like, this is not, um,
we don't have to live like that. And
yeah,
I
yeah.
talked to this lady one time, and this was before I started the treatment. I was talking to this older lady in the gym. I think she was probably about 65 or so, and we were talking about the hot flashes and everything. And she's like, I was like, and my doctor is like, this could be anywhere from 10 to 15 years. And she said,
Yeah.
or the rest of your life. And I was like, oh no, 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 no. We are not doing this for the
We're not
rest of
doing
my
it.
life. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Okay, we
Yeah.
don't have to live. You don't
Yeah.
to live that way. It's so important for us to advocate for our health. When the first time that they put me on antidepressants was right after my first back surgery in 2015. And it was just making me worse. And I was trying to tell this doctor, I was like,
Mhm.
listen, these things are making me worse. And you know what he did? He quadrupled my dose. It was insane. And
Oh.
I go back to him and I'm like, I'm not taking these anymore. And he says to me, you can't stop taking them because we need to fix you first, is his exact words. And I was like,
Mm.
nope. So I quit seeing him and I took myself off of those things. It
Ooh.
was the first time I ever experienced like legit withdrawals. Horrible, horrible. But you're giving me antidepressants and I still feel I
Yeah.
feel worse than I did. So, and then now you're telling me that you're not going to take me off of them, that you have to fix me first. You're not even listening
Mhm.
to me. And there's so many
Yeah.
doctors that don't. And if they don't listen, then change your doctor. You
Yeah.
have to advocate for your health because everybody just wants to give you a pill to fix it. And
I
a
know.
lot of times that's not the case. I think of it all the time with some of these, especially women my age or even a little bit younger, because I probably, we start what, perimenopause sometimes in our late 30s, you know what I mean? And I've been without a menstrual
Mhm.
cycle now for, I guess, well, I actually had my last menstrual cycle the weekend that I competed. So I was 48, so 2 years ago almost.
Mhm.
And I was just, you know your body. At least you should know your body if you are tuned in and self-aware.
Mhm.
Pay attention to that. You don't always, it doesn't always have to be a pill. And you know what? If you don't exercise,
Yeah.
please exercise. It helps so much. It's so
Yeah.
underrated. People don't understand. You know what I mean?
The mood. Oh my
Oh my
gosh. It is it doesn't have to be, and I'm gonna advocate here for a second that from a fitness instructor as well for years who like I trained all the boot camps. I mean, I put some people through some
yeah,
stuff. And like, now I'm like, just move. Even if
just
you're
move.
just 5 minutes, start
Yeah.
with a 5 minute walk around the house. If nothing else, don't feel like you have to match what someone else,
No.
start where you're
Just
at.
start.
And
It doesn't even matter.
yeah,
Go for a
yeah,
walk. Find something that you like to do.
yeah,
Like when
yeah.
I
Dance.
started in Zumba. Exactly. That's what I was
Yeah,
gonna, because I love to dance. And
yeah,
it was so much fun. And but I started it for the ironically enough, I started working out because I didn't want to have an issue getting out of my chair when I was old. I wanted to be able to be
yeah.
self-sufficient and take care of myself. And ironically, I've had two spinal fusions and was almost in a wheelchair, but you have to pay attention to your body and advocate for yourself. And maybe you don't need all the hormones. Maybe your estrogen is low.
Yeah,
Maybe your testosterone is low. It is amazing. And men, it's the same thing.
yeah,
If you're feeling sluggish or tired, or maybe you're not functioning sexually where you want to. This is, I'm like it's amazing. Do you know what it's like to feel like when you're 20 again? It's so crazy. And that is literally what the hormones have done. It's insane. It is insane.
I I love normalizing talking about for a minute because how many times I've worked with older clients as a trainer for years before too, and they just kind of like, well, I had one client who her doctor told her she didn't need to be lifting weights like that. She didn't need to be pushing the I oh mm, or you don't need to be, you're older now. You don't need, I mean, and we were not doing bodybuilding. It was not,
Mm-mm.
heaven forbid we push a little bit of weight around.
No,
But
my back
it's
doctor
like a
tried to
lot
tell
of
me.
times they want it. This is just how it is. You're getting older. You just
Oh
need
my God,
to,
I can't stand it when I hear my girlfriends
yeah,
say that. Oh, it drives me crazy. Drives me
yeah,
crazy. They're all, well, that's what happens when we get old. I'm like, no, 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 no,
right?
honey. That's what happens then when you get old.
Yeah, you go
Doesn't have
ahead.
to be like that. That does not happen.
Yeah,
Listen, I could complain about everything. I'm fused from my
yeah,
L3 to my S1. I could complain. I could not go to the gym. I could use that as every excuse in the world.
sure. Yeah,
But what good would that do me?
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
I don't want, nobody wants to be miserable, man. None of us
yeah,
do. And I think that we get stuck in that rut because it's
yeah,
easy. People
yeah.
are under the misconception that people who are always happy or in a good mood are just that way. And
Mm,
you and I
easy for
know
you.
that that is
Yeah,
not the truth. It's a
yeah,
choice. And listen, sometimes it's not a
Yeah.
choice I want to make. Yesterday, I was in a really bad mood. You
Yeah.
know, we get up and even though it's not always perfect, I was in a really bad mood. I was super crabby and get to the gym and, Rich is like, what's wrong with you? You were fine 5 minutes ago. And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I want to cry. I don't know,
Yeah.
but I'm sure I'll feel better after I'm done working out. And guess what? I felt better when I'm done working out.
Yeah.
But it would be real easy to sit and be miserable every day. I could have sat in my desperation and been sad and cried or decided to finally just take my life because that was just going to be the easier decision. But then shame on me because it's done, it's easy for me, but forget everybody else that I left behind to deal with my BS. I mean, come on,
Mm,
how selfish is that? And it's
mm,
real easy. And that's like they say, misery loves company. So when you hang out with
yeah.
somebody who's sad all the time, it's real easy to just get sucked into that, and we make a conscious effort every day to not be miserable because that's easy. It's not easy to smile when you don't want to, but I
Yeah.
guarantee that if you continue to do that, it gets easier. And then it's just a normal thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
one of my very best friends for the longest time, every day, I mean, something was happening all the time, right? And her everyday
Yeah.
thing was, well, it's just my life. It's just my life. Finally, one day I was like, well, you know what? It is just your life because it's what you say
Sure
every day,
keep, yeah.
that it's just my life. I said, how about you don't do that? How about you not focus on all the bad stuff that you say is just your life every day? And she stopped. And guess what? That's not her life anymore. And people don't understand those little tiny things that
Yeah.
it shapes everything, even if you don't realize,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. You don't realize it in the moment making that small decision and in if I had a dollar for every time someone said, but it's easy for you.
Mm.
And that's why I try to share the days like, look, it is not easy. The
Oh,
days when I'm like, look, there's no part of me that wants to play any of this.
nope.
And some days aren't great, and that's okay. And then we pick what we can do that day, and then the next day we pick it back up and do it again, even if it's that 5 minute walk, or even if it's that one thing to go stand and get sunlight in your eyes and, pick it up. But like you said, and then the more you do it, it just gets better.
But
I
it is,
love that you shared how awesome things are. Now, even though yesterday you were,
yeah,
not having a great day,
yeah,
the
it's not always a
humanity
great
of
day.
it, we're human. You could do
100%.
all of the work, do everything right, and still have days that are, ooh. So then it's our job just to be patient and graceful with ourselves when we have a day like that. Like, that's okay. No beating up. There's just, it is what it is. And
That's it.
how do we move forward when we're ready? Um, Thank you so much
Of
for
course.
being here, for sharing so much, for inspiring me to probably get my hormones checked. I've talked about it for a while because now I'm getting more curious.
You know what? I'll tell
Yeah,
you, I get more interaction on my social media when I talk about the hormones. I have women
yeah,
that I've never met. Like, I'll make a comment
yeah,
in like some random doctor hormone post and I'll share a bit of
yeah.
my story. And the next thing you know, these women are just like,
I want to.
what did you do? How did you? Because I'm
Hmm.
feeling the same exact way. They have no idea. And
Yeah,
obviously you don't know what you don't know, but do the
right.
research. I'm not a doctor, but I did the
Yeah,
research and I know 100% what it's done for me. A hundred
yeah.
percent. And there's no reason why we have to feel like this. Because I'm telling you, I didn't know how bad I was feeling until I was feeling so good.
Yeah. There's a soundbite right there. That is, I think, in so many ways, a lot of things, it becomes the norm. So you have, and it should not be, but we don't even realize it. I mean, in any sense of all
No,
the
man,
things.
life is
I
not
love that.
about going through life feeling bad. That's not what God
Yeah.
wants, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's not what he wants for us. It
Yeah.
was really not, and I think the more that people realize it, it makes a big difference, you know?
Mm.
We should all not add to the problem, you know?
Mm.
We should all add to the
Yeah.
solution. And it's
Yeah.
really quite simple, and it's being there for another and loving each other, even though you don't have to always like everybody, but it is
Mm.
important to at least love each other, so you treat each other kindly, and that makes a big difference, I think.
Agreed. And I think that's a perfect ending spot. I don't think it gets any better from there. Thank you so much.
I
Let's
really
speak to
appreciate you
you.
letting me share my story.
We're
Yeah,
definitely doing it again.
anytime. Any way that any of my story, however it is, can help anybody else. My ultimate goal is to be able to help other women or men. If my story helps, then that's what matters the most.